Now let's bring you this story, perfect for a Friday. He's considered one of Africa's most accomplished musicians. Zakes Bantwini's latest achievement was to remix US singer Lau's song Modern Loneliness, and just in time for his 40th birthday, news that he's now been accepted to the prestigious Harvard University Business School in the US to go and study further. But we cannot speak to him without looking at the impact of the coronavirus on the music industry, of course.
I'm from the ghetto. I'm from the ghetto. I'm from the ghetto, yeah. I'm from the ghetto.
And in fact, Zakes joins us now live via our Zoom line. Mr. Bantwini, thank you so much for your time this morning. First and foremost, huge congratulations on yet another achievement.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you for having me.
So tell us about, just in time for your 40th birthday, the rest of us are sort of still trying to come to terms with studying in our earlier years. We don't have much space to do that now. Tell us about the journey that's led you now to Harvard School of Business.
Yeah, so I have a diploma in jazz and popular music from UKZN, University of Natal. And then after that, I studied social entrepreneurship at Gordon Institute of Business Science. This is a business wing of University of Pretoria. And I went to work at Sony Music Africa as a head of A&R for 2 years. Then after that, I felt like I needed just to study further. And I applied at Harvard to go study the business of music, media, the business of media, entertainment and sports.
Yeah.
And so I got accepted, but you would swear that I was looking for a job. I mean, the questions that were asked, like, how long have you been an executive? What is an organograph of your company? How many people that reports to you? What is the bottom line of the company at the end of the year and stuff like that? So it was such a very engaging and such tough questions that one needed to ask. But I understand. I mean, it is an executive program, so
yeah.
So then I accepted just a week before my birthday. So I was very, very excited.
It sounds to me, just as you sort of list the various institutions you've studied with, how you've furthered your career through study, through academia. I mean, this is how we should, particularly in media and arts industries, this is how we should be doing our business. Yes, as artists, we would want to focus on the art itself, but if you're talking longevity, this is the best route, it sounds like.
Yeah, and also just, being able to lead the industry, because I feel like as creative and media and athletes, we participate in this industry, but we don't lead it.
Yeah.
It never happens. So most of the time, people who are in boardrooms taking decisions that affects journalists, affects athletes, and affects musicians or entertainers in general. No one has probably been a journalist there, or been an athlete or been a musician. So it's easy for people to take decisions that are not in favor of the industry because they've never, traveled, or been in the shoes of those people that are taking a decision on their behalf. So that's why one wanted to just study so that when that particular opportunity presents itself and you are demanded to present papers that allow you to be in those boardrooms, then you can say, hey, wow, because I think the big idea is obviously to be, one day to sit at the board of ICASA or the SABC. Those are two boards that I think really affect the industries that we're in, and I don't see someone who I've been on stage sitting on those particular boardrooms,
Yeah,
and although hence at the same time those boards are so important when we talk about South African music being played on radio or on television, so you end up just being a wish when you tweet about it, because the policies are not in favor of what you're saying. So change the policy, for you to be able to change the industry. So for you to be able to do that, you must go study, because that's the one thing that they ask you when you get there. Okay, what do you have?
Yeah.
What have you studied? So that's the reason why a person do that. So I'm like a practical person, you know. I don't like howling. I just want to do things,
Yeah.
you know. So okay, fine. So we need to change this. Okay, fine. How do we change this? Now, you know, the policies are made in whatever in these boards, and for you to be a board member, you need to study. Cool. Let me go study so that I come back and be a board member and change those decisions. You know?
And I mean, you've got practical plans. You've already, by the sounds of things, mapped out exactly what will happen when you come back from Harvard. I'm talking about changing the kind of business model that we are relying on in South Africa when it comes to how we play our artists' music, which, as we know, doesn't work in the favor of artists.
Yes, no, definitely. It seriously doesn't work in the favor of artists, and the only organization that could change that is ICASA. Nobody, you know. So it ended up being a wish. I mean, SABC tried doing that for 90%, but it didn't work because it wasn't within the law. You know, so you have to change laws if you have to change this. So in the laws, then people who are making laws when it comes to our industry are at ICASA, it's the ICASA board. So it's the ICASA board that needs to be transformed with artists and journalists and athletes. Athletes needs to be there, needs to be present, so that they change whatever that is happening there.
And the record label, that's another thing that's in your future. You've started laying the groundwork already.
Yeah. So yes, definitely. So there's this new record company I've just launched. It's called All Electronic Music. So in this record company, we don't sign artists, we sign their work. So it's more like we lease your music for either 5, 10, or 20 years. And after that, then we'll give it back to you. Because I think the issue of ownership and owning artists and owning their work, we felt like it's not fair. Because, I mean, work should be owned by artists. You know, it shouldn't be owned by record companies. So all we do is release your song, we release it, so you don't have to be signed with us. So you can sign an A song, and if you feel like a B song, you want to sign it elsewhere, you can go and do that. So we don't own your work exclusively. You can only sign the work that you want to sign to us, and each and every song. And when we release your music, we release it globally. So we release it in South Africa, we release it in Europe, and then we release it also in the US. Instead of just releasing it in Africa and then wait if then there's going to be traction in Europe, then we release it there or something like that. So with my record company, when we release your music, we release it all over, you know. And then these are relationships that one managed to do and that one has been working on, because we've got partners in Europe and also we've got partners in the US which are taking care of every work that we are doing. And also we're doing the same. When they sign artists in their respective territories, when they give us in Africa, we do the same with their music and their artists, which what we expect to do.
Yeah. Zakes, before we let you go, we know that COVID-19 has brought about a whole new reality for all of us, but including and perhaps especially people in the media, artists themselves. You know, we're seeing our soapies can't go out and they can't get on set, they can't continue to record new episodes. The same when it comes to music and concerts, that's obviously no longer allowed. But you've got another idea for how we can still continue and have concerts, do it at a safe social distance amid the pandemic.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So, I mean, we are actually trying. We are waiting now if we can be allowed to do that. So we are doing a drive-in concert. Well, drive-ins are not like so it's not an invention, because
sure.
drive-ins have been there. You know, you used to watch movies through drive-ins. Yeah. We just want to do concerts because we feel like the economy, the entertainment economy is suffering a lot. You know. And I think maybe if we as artists we won't have plans, we won't seriously survive. I mean, we are taking care of families here. We have houses, we've got cars, you know, we have our livelihoods, you know, that we need to sustain. You know, so while other sectors are fighting the government, taking government to court because they feel like they need to operate or they need to trade, it's the same thing that we're also trying to say, hey guys, for us to still survive during these times, this is what we need to do. And we're hoping that the government and powers that be can also allow us to do such things, because if you've allowed, you know, churches together, why won't you allow entertainers also together, you know, with the same precautions that you've given to the churches? Because I mean, it's a gathering at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So
and
we also have so we also have an industry that needs to survive.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah, and now is the time to innovate. Listen, Zakes, I'm going to be a little cheesy and say to you, that as you head to Harvard, I think South Africans, we clap our hands for you. And before we let you go, there's a question there that I'm getting from a viewer on Twitter. And he's asking, Zakes, now that you're heading to Harvard, will you still be shaking your bum, or are those days behind you?
I think that Twitter is as cheesy as you. But anyways, no, I definitely. So I'm studying in blocks at Harvard. So I go there for a week, you know, come back for 3 months. So I go every 3 months to do a week. So it is in blocks. So it's a year program. So I'm going in December. So definitely I still have time. I'm releasing an album this year. I'm also releasing another album next year. I'm celebrating Love Latin. My debut album, Love Latin Music, is celebrating 10 years this year. So this year has been such a, you know, an amazing year for me, even though COVID-19 happened. But I think there's still beautiful things that have happened in my life. And I'm still going to celebrate, and I'm still releasing songs. I'm releasing a single this month, and I'm going to release an album later in the year. I'm also going to release another album later next year. So December, then I head to Harvard, and then I come back and I still continue with music.
Wonderful. Well, all the very best to you, and thank you so much for talking to us here on the AM Report. He certainly is one of Africa's most accomplished musicians.
I just want to take...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to take this opportunity now that I'm here, you know. I wrote an email to the National Commissioner, Mr. Sithole. I just want to say that I'm still waiting for his response, because the Public Protector has responded to me with the letter that I wrote to her. And please, Mr. Sithole, I would like for you to acknowledge my email and respond to Mr. Collins Khosa's death. You know, because I'm waiting, Mr. Sithole. I'm really waiting for your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Zakes. Zakes Bantwini, in true form, using the opportunity there to put a spotlight on this incredibly important issue as we all band together in the Black Lives Matter movement. We are fighting our very own Black Lives Matter movement right here in South Africa with the death of Collins Khosa, allegedly at the hands of members of the SANDF.